Okay. Well, I'm going to do a quick hello while we're all getting settled and do a couple housekeeping things. I'm getting my camera cues from over here. You guys will notice I'm not a natural TV talent, so bear with me. Welcome everybody to the Center for Health and Wellbeing. I am Jackie Carlin with the Center for Health and Wellbeing. I'm joined by Allison Harrell right here, and I'll tell you a little bit about her in 1 second. But as I mentioned, this is only the second one of these that we've done, our new hybrid Food is Medicine webinar and in-person program. So we've got some lovely folks here in the Nutrition Theater with us. I know Allison, like, where do we look? Nutrition Theater here at the Center for Health and Wellbeing. We've got lots of great folks at home joining us. We're so happy to have you with us today. A couple quick things. I will be sharing in the comment box a link to the recipes, and the people here in the room.
Let's do a big cheer when he comes in.
We've got our special guest coming in.
We got our special
Everybody
guest.
get excited. She's getting him set up with his microphone. So while they're doing that, I'll tell you. And then the other quick thing to notice is you guys will all get a post-program survey afterwards. I'll drop it in the comments for those of you at home. You guys here in the building will get an email to you. Use that to tell us what you want to see next. Allison and I, welcome Dr. Galante. That's okay. We're just doing some housekeeping. So, you know, we use those surveys. Honestly, this is one of the reasons we did this program, I think, is it came from a suggestion from somebody here in the Nutrition Theater. So if you've got a health condition you'd like some cooking for, if there's a special type of diet, a kitchen tool, we are always looking right. As Allison and I were just starting to brainstorm about January right now. So, and for those of you, I'm gonna start the countdown clock. Her program just went live last night on our website, October 12th. She's going to be doing Cooking to Eat Prevent Cancer. So if you guys want to sign up for that one, the spots will go quickly. So just want to give that out there. Dr. Galante, come on over here. Come on over here. Welcome. Let's see if you got your mic on.
Is this working?
Let me see. Oops.
Oh, I was on the right.
Here, give it 1 second and then it should join.
Okay. Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. You are right on time. You are right on time.
I'm so sorry.
No. So let me just real quick, I'm going to introduce the two of you real quick. So I'm going to read this because I don't want to mess it up. Allison is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and a plant-based chef who's passionate about food and nutrition for over 20 years. She advanced her knowledge by becoming a certified culinary medicine specialist, which those of you who've been to her classes know it means she's dropping all sorts of knowledge bombs throughout the class. It's awesome. So you guys are going to learn a lot today. And she's also certified in weight loss management. And Dr. Galante here is a DO and MS and is a board certified colon and rectal surgeon and the assistant program director for the colon and rectal surgery fellowship program at Advent Health. His areas of expertise include the use of minimally invasive techniques in colon and rectal cancer treatment, I'm messing this up, sorry, including TAMIS and laparoscopic surgery, as well as pelvic floor disorders. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
And we're going to do this live because this is how we roll here. I'm going to tell you guys how this is going to go. Allison is going to do a quick, brief introduction to let you know what she's going to make today. She's going to get started in cooking, and Dr. Galante is going to talk for a couple minutes, and he and I will interact about the importance of how nutrition does impact your gut health and your, your overall health. And the two of them will, throughout the program, just be interacting back and forth. Raise your hands, everybody here in the room. If you've got a question as we're going, don't hesitate to speak up. Our folks at home, leave a question in the chat box, and I will pass along to the folks in the room. Okay, I'm going to finally get off camera and let you guys do your thing.
Okay. Yeah, because my soup has a couple stages. So I wanted to get it started, then I'm going to roll it off to you, and we're good thing. And if you need to interrupt me at any time, feel free.
No, just
interject. It's fine. Okay. So today we are going to be making 3 different recipes. We are going to be doing a chopped Asian salad with orange sesame miso dressing. And you can see we have a lot of color on our display area here. We're going to be using cabbages and different types of cabbage, Napa cabbage, purple and green. We have peppers, jalapenos, onions, garlic. We're also going to be making a dessert, which is a strawberry banana nice cream. Very delicious. And chicken and vegetable miso soup. Yes, I am a certified plant-based chef, but I believe in predominant plant-powered eating. So I do incorporate some meat into my diet. So here I'm going to have a chicken in our chicken and vegetable miso soup. So first I need to get the soup started because it takes a little bit longer, and I'm going to saute our vegetables, and I'm going to use some avocado oil in the bottom. And I like it says to add 1 tablespoon of avocado oil. How many times do you just go like this and just dump it in? I do that a lot too, but it's better to measure it out. Then you really know exactly how much you're you're getting. And the reason why I'm adding the oil is because we don't want the veggies to stick on the bottom. Adding in some chopped carrots. I like both, but avocado has a higher smoke point, and I'm not sure how high this Instapot is getting. So when it goes above this smoke point, it can become inflammatory. So I just chose to use that. For the dressings and salads, I like to use the olive oil. Okay. This is leeks. Do you know what leeks look like? Have you ever seen leeks? They look like a bigger brother of the scallion. Okay. So I chopped these up for you. And then we are going to be using our shiitake mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms has all 8 essential amino acids in it, and it has a fatty acid in it that's called linoleic acid that can help with weight loss and building of muscle. Let me grab my spoon here. And I'm just going to saute these, and I'll let you carry on now.
I
And
was thinking of two things. One is I was super excited when I looked at these recipes and I saw that it was in the instant pot or the multi-pot, we'll say, 'cause, you know,
Yes.
we're not sponsored by a certain company.
Right.
You know, it's funny when I was in fellowship and my son was born and my wife was super struggling just with, you know, 2 kids basically being a single mom, because I was always in training. I was like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get her like a pressure cooker pot so that like set it, forget it, she can just make dinner. And she's like, I don't know if I want this. And then the first time I like threw some frozen chicken breast and just like a can of tomatoes in, and we had dinner in 10 minutes.
yeah.
She's like, this is amazing. So I think that, you know, it's such a great thing. And we always think about, you know, pressure cookers and hot food and winter time, but we live in Florida, so it's hot all the time. But
Right.
it's really just like a great thing, like to set it and forget it.
And
then
I
you don't have to
literally
worry
made
about it.
rice in it yesterday.
Yeah.
I made a big batch of rice in it. I was shocked, and it was perfect. So you don't have to just make soup.
Yeah, and like applesauce works really well.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing I was thinking of, you already mentioned that, you know, you're mostly plant-based cooking with little sprinkling of meat here, there, and everywhere. This would be good just as a vegetarian. Like you could just leave out the chicken breast and do vegetable stock or vegetable broth.
Mhm.
But you know, there's other kind of meat substitutes. Like you could do a more substantial mushroom than a shiitake, something that with like a little more bite to it.
Yep.
Add a little more of that umami flavor. You could do beans, like a cannellini bean or a chickpea even, just to kind of add a little bit more fiber and a little bit get the protein back in
Yeah.
that's not there with the
I
chicken.
wonder how tempeh would be in there. I've been exploring tempeh a little bit more. I
Okay.
like the texture of it. So that might be a good addition as well.
My jury's still out on the like the meat substitutes, like the I'm gonna call it the
Oh,
faux meat.
I don't like those at all.
You know, like if you want a hamburger, go get a hamburger. If you want some chicken, go
Exactly.
get some chicken. I know there are people who can't eat that stuff and they choose not to, and that's fine. But
Yeah. When you look at those faux meats, and the ingredient list is more chemicals than actual food, run.
yeah, when the argument is like, but it's healthier because it's not meat, but plants aren't supposed to look like they bleed when you cook them.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
You know, just my personal preference there.
Yeah, exactly. I like to get a large variety of plants into my diet because that's going to help support your gut microbiome. Like 30 different plants in a week should be our goal. And that's challenging, you know, because a lot of times we get in a rut, we eat the same thing over and over and over again. But I encourage you to try different recipes that have a lot of different flavors in it. Like if you're here working out at the wellness center over here, stop at Nourish and try something that you've never had before, because you might surprise yourself that you actually like certain foods that you thought you didn't like. You probably just didn't like it maybe the way your mama made it, because I used to hate Brussels sprouts, and I'm sorry, Mom, if you're going to watch this later, but I used to hate Brussels sprouts, and I'm sure she got it from that box in the freezer and boiled it, and it was mushy and yucky and gross. But now I absolutely love Brussels sprouts when I put it in a roasting pan or the air fryer and get it all crispy on the edges with some seasonings. It's delicious, and it's a cruciferous vegetable that helps reduce cancer. And another way I was able to find, I do like certain things that I didn't before. All right, so this is sauteing. It's been about 5 minutes or so. And then I've already trimmed the excess fat on my chicken, and I wanted to show you, use kitchen shears when you're doing that. It's so much easier just to cut it all off. And then you just throw this in the dishwasher when you're done, okay? And then we are going to get some salt and pepper and season that up a little bit. This soup has miso in it, and that is salty. So there's hardly any in here. This miso is salty, so I don't need to add a lot of extra salt. Like I'm actually not going to add the salt. I'm going to add the pepper when we find it. But also, this recipe called for low sodium chicken broth, and this was BOGO in Publix this week. And I don't know about you, but grocery prices are getting ridiculous. So I don't want to waste money. So I bought the unsalted broth and the regular broth, and I'll mix it together to make it low sodium. I've tried the unsalted broth before, and it just did not taste very good at all. Okay, salt helps bring in flavor out, and we do want to limit our salt intake, but we do need salt in our diet too. Now, if you're eating a lot of processed food, you're getting a lot of salt, so be mindful of that. But this overall is not going to have that much sodium in it. So what I'm going to do is trim the excess fat, add the salt or pepper, and I'm going to pour in the chicken broth and add the chicken as well. Any questions so far?
I'll share a question from home. It's a little off topic, but one of the attendees was curious, Dr. Glante and Allison, your thoughts on things like kombucha and natural probiotics for gut health.
So I think that anytime you can restore the intestinal flora is helpful. I personally don't like the taste of kombucha. I think it's a little too vinegary.
Yeah.
My wife loves it. I think that, it's a much easier way to get something into your system than, taking pills with, dried out, pseudo, probiotics, so to speak. I think that, any way to restore that gut flora, it helps with digestion. It helps prevent constipation. It helps prevent diarrhea. It helps restore the things that if you, we're taking some antibiotics, it can help just kind of prevent that antibiotic associated GI upset. We won't go too much into bowel movements over lunch. So I think, I think that, if you like it and you feel that it works well for you, then go for it.
I also would say be careful and read the nutrition facts labels, because I was looking for kombucha because I was helping some of my patients with their gut health, and I wanted to follow the diet I was telling them to follow. I couldn't believe how much sugar is in so much of the kombucha. And I really only found one brand. I think it's Synergy had the least amount of added sugars, if not any additional added sugars. You want to pay attention to the added sugars on the nutrition facts label. So when you are grocery shopping and choosing if it's yogurt, look at the ingredient label and see how much added sugar is in there as well. And about
Some of them get a little boozy too.
Yeah, they do. They
They
do.
ferment a little too much and you get some extra alcohols in them, especially the sweeter ones.
Right.
And then, you're not going to get drunk off a bottle of kombucha, but it might not be what you were looking for
No,
when you were buying a bottle of kombucha.
And I actually had a client that was in AA, and she was in trouble. And so she got tested, and she came back as testing positive for alcohol because she was drinking kombucha. And she wasn't trying to do it maliciously or go break the rules, but yeah. Yes.
I don't think there are any tried and true or well documented recommendations. I mean, it's a beverage, just like you'd get a bottle of water, a bottle of orange juice, you theoretically can drink the whole, because it's not like a big flask of it. It's usually like a 16 to 20 ounce bottle. Usually.
If you could stomach it.
Yeah.
The taste.
People will drink the whole bottle.
The taste of it's very vinegary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I love it too. And I usually have one bottle over 2 or even 3 days. It gets a little flatter, but it doesn't lose its, flavor.
Yeah.
So I kind of will have a little bit, put it back in the fridge, because the vinegary thing, if I have too much, but yeah.
I've gotten into shrubs lately though, which are kind of kombucha-esque. It's like you macerate some berries with some sugar and some apple cider vinegar and you strain it off. And it works well with like seltzer water or some juice, or you can mix it into a cocktail. But
Yeah.
it's kind of that like soury, vinegary, but it's not, it's a
Yeah.
little sweeter because you're using apple cider vinegar. There's a little bit of sugar, and it works really well.
That sounds good. That sounds delicious. And can you talk about some of the probiotics that you find in the food products in the grocery store? A lot of them don't work or are dead before they get to your mouth.
So I'm a huge fan of just telling people to go get live culture yogurt. So
Okay.
either some Greek yogurt, some skyr, something like that.
Mhm.
Kefir, like the yogurt drink, those all work really well. So if I have a patient who I'm putting on antibiotics for a particular reason, I'll say, go get something. Cause you know, when you read the actual like label of what's in the pill probiotics, it's the same as what you're finding in your yogurt. And if
Yeah.
you're eating a live cultured yogurt that you haven't baked the nonsense out of, it's going to work just fine. And then again, it speaks to that finding the one that's lower sugar, you know, and then in addition to like finding one that's low sugar, you know, it might be low in sugar, but it's like super high in aspartame or
Right.
some of those
Be
other
careful of
artificial
those, yeah.
sugar alcohols, which are just as bad for you in the grand scheme
Right.
of things. So, you know, something that's like flavored with or sweetened with honey or like with fruit juice and stuff like that, that's always a better
Or
option.
add your own fruit.
Yeah.
You know, that's even better. You're adding your fresh berries, fiber-filled carbohydrates to a plain unsweetened Greek, you know, yogurt or the skyr or whatever. That's always a great
I'm
choice.
a huge fan of skyr. If you haven't tried skyr,
It's so good.
Icelandic yogurt. SKYR, so it's Icelandic yogurt.
And I think it's BOGO right now at Publix.
There's a couple
It's
really
so
good
good.
brands. I'm not gonna again go into brands, but it's basically if you take Greek yogurt and then filter like sieve it out even more. It's like super thick and creamy. Like it's the thickest stuff you can get.
I like the coconut. It's
Yes,
so good.
They make a coffee flavored one, which is
Yes.
really good too. The coconut one with a scoop of peanut butter in it.
Oh,
That's my go-to lunch.
that would be good. That's a tiny lunch.
I don't have a lot of time.
Lunch on the go. Okay.
They have like 13 to 20 grams of protein in them,
Yeah,
like in just like a little like 4 to 6 ounce cup.
yeah.
And we just got a question in the comments from E asking, do regular yogurts also have the live cultures?
It should say on it live cultures. So like, yeah, like your run of the mill, like Yoplait, Dannon, they should be live cultured. You don't have to buy the Jamie Lee Curtis Activia
No.
Make You Go Better yogurt. That's just really a lot of sugar and really good marketing.
Yeah,
But and almost any yogurt these days should have live cultures in it.
right. And like that's a good point. Not having enough time to eat, or I know as we age, sometimes people don't want to eat a lot. They just lose their desire to eat. And like I used to work in the adult arena in the hospital when I first started as a dietitian, and a lot of the elderly didn't have appetites and they're trying to get extra calories and protein in. That would be a really great way to get some extra calories and protein with the peanut butter added too. So that's good. All right, I'm going to make this salad, and this is basically just an assembly. You know, I love you all so much that I chopped all these things, but not just that. I went to 4 stores looking for edamame that was shelled, and I didn't find it. I bought the shell or the edamame in the bags and popped them all out just for you guys. So this is a big deal, okay? All right, so this salad is going to be loaded with cruciferous vegetables, which is the cabbage that we have here. And I could have bought it in a bag, but often when I buy it in the bag, it's not as crunchy and it's kind of slimy. And they put a lot of gas in those bags. So once you open it, it immediately starts going bad. So I love you guys. So I chopped up the cabbage myself. This also saves you a ton of money because one of those bags I would have needed 4 bags to have this same amount, and each bag was $4. Like that's ridiculous. Come on. So we have our cabbage mixed in here. I also have our, and the cruciferous vegetables have some anti-cancer properties as well, plus a lot of fiber to get into your diet. And do you guys know what the minimum amount of fiber is that you guys should have a day? For men, it's over, or is it 31 to 38 for men? Over 50 is a
So I
little bit
usually just
less.
say women, it's about 30, men, it's about 40.
Yeah, that's easier.
'cause-
It's easier.
And the reason why I do that is because like a tablespoon of, or a teaspoon of psyllium fiber, like Metamucil, is about is about 8 grams of fiber. So then you can just kind of do the math and work your way up.
Yeah.
That's how I,
Yeah.
that's how I work it.
And to put in perspective, one apple is about 2 to 3 grams of fiber. So you do have to be intentional. So the psyllium husk is a great addition to maybe that yogurt or a smoothie that you have to increase your intake of fiber. Now, if you're not used to eating fiber, I don't want you to walk out of here and just buy all the things, the psyllium husk, and load it up, because you're going to get constipated. Okay. You want to slowly, gradually increase the amount of fiber, and you always want to make sure you're drinking a lot of water and hydrating yourself. And as a minimum, you want half your body weight in water. So a 150-pound person needs 75 ounces of water a day. Okay. I'm going to add some red peppers. This had a lot of people, when they think about vitamin C, they think about oranges. Well, red peppers have 169% of the daily recommended intake of vitamin C in it. So that helps with your immune system. It also helps with absorbing iron. Okay. So when you eat iron, if you're having some vitamin C with it, it will increase your absorption. If you're having a calcium source, like a big thing of milk with your steak, it's actually inhibiting the iron absorption. I used to work in Arnold Palmer Hospital, and there was a kid in HEMOC, severely anemic. And we were like, what is going on? He didn't have any cancer. There was no issues, but he was severely anemic. Turns out all he had every single day was gallons of milk. So he was not absorbing his iron. So if you want your milk, I would have it separate from your meats. And I'm adding some of our green onions. These are how I like to store them. And you can see on the bottom, I have cut some and they're in the water. They actually regenerate. So this can last you a couple months. You got to change the water every now and then if it gets cloudy and yucky, but that's another way to save some money. And then here's some cilantro. I store my cilantro like that as well in the refrigerator to extend the life of my herbs. And plant-based protein, edamame. So this is the not processed soybean, and I recommend getting organic soy because it doesn't have the genetically modified ingredients in it. Our government subsidizes the farms, and there's a lot of genetically modified organisms in corn and soy. So I try to limit that. Ever since GMOs have been introduced to our diet years ago, our obesity rates have gone up. Now, I don't know if that's the cause or not, but I don't know.
Well, Dr. Glante, I'm predicting we're going to get the question in the comments because we always do. I know you deal some with cancer, but everyone always wants to know about soy, and especially those who have gone through cancer. Do you have any input on that?
I think that everyone should eat a well-balanced diet. I think that if your choices are no protein or protein through soy, then go ahead and eat some soy. But to the point that she just made, eating one that's, sorry, I'm trying to like not.
Oh, sorry.
You can look at
Sorry.
these guys. You don't have to look at me.
Sorry.
Eating one that is not genetically modified is always better. I was just thinking back, like, growing up, I grew up in like farm country of Pennsylvania, and our neighbors grew soybeans, and like we would just eat, like they would roast them and eat them, and then it kind of went way out of fashion. Like, ooh, soy was this bad thing. Like,
Right.
oh, you're eating soy. Oh, you're just eating tofu. And then it came back, and now every restaurant has edamame on like their appetizer menu. So it's just really interesting how food trends are cyclical.
Yes. All right, now to make the dressing, we are going to be using some orange juice. I have that here. I'm using white miso paste, and this is a fermented soybean. So this is good for your gut health as well, to feed the good bacteria in your gut. So miso, that's hard to find. I had to go to Fresh Market to get that. I couldn't find it in Publix. Publix is Publix and Walmart pickup are my go-tos, but sometimes you got to go to some fancier places. Honey is really good. If you go to local farmers markets, buy the honey if it's made locally, because if you have allergies, this can help with the local allergies that you might have. And tahini, does anyone know what tahini is made out of? Sesame, yes.
Tahini is really sweet, so it's actually a good replacement for peanut butter too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where did you see that?
Yeah.
Nice. That was the rice vinegar. We have extra virgin olive oil and a little bit of toasted sesame oil for flavor. And hold on. This, look at this cool thing. Rumor has it, we might have some extras in here, but I love this whisk because when you put it in your cabinet, it's not gonna, or your drawer, it's not gonna block it all up. And I forgot my whisk, and when she showed that to me, I was like, ah, I need one. So I'm just going to whisk this together. This is our dressing. And you know what? Would you, Jackie, would you go around and help them? Oh, wait, I want to add some peanuts to this. Sorry, you're gonna have to wait a second. Does anyone have any nut allergies in here? No? Okay. So I'm just whisking the dressing together. And I like these salad dressing holders. You can make your own dressing. When you go to the grocery store, you'll see a sea of different dressings, but a lot of them have maybe oils that you wouldn't really want to cook with. Things
They're
that
all sugar.
are all sugar and inflammatory oils as well, but a lot of sugar. I found one brand I like, Primal Kitchen, because it's made with avocado oil, but look at the label and look for extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, and look at the added sugar amount as well. All right, so I'm going to chop up some peanuts. And right over here.
Dr. Galante, while she's doing that, someone asked while she was making the dressing, your thoughts on orange juice for those with gastritis?
I mean, if you're drinking, I mean, orange juice is very acidic. If you have a bad stomach, if you have, ulcers or GERD, probably not the greatest, to go downing the OJ by the gallon. But if you have really bad gastritis, hopefully you're on some kind of treatment from your primary care doctor or your gastroenterologist to help with that as well. I think juices in general have a lot of sugar in them.
I would just avoid juices.
And you're
in general.
missing the
fiber.
The fiber and the other stuff that comes with eating the fruit solids. So if your choices are eat an orange that's really juicy or drink a glass of orange juice, I would do the orange that's really juicy.
Yeah, and for the dressing, I thought I picked up the one with the pulp. I normally pick the one with the pulp just to try and get a little bit of extra fiber in it. But with dressings, a vinaigrette, you want something acidic. So I'm using a little bit of juice. It wasn't a lot of juice. Sitting down at the breakfast table and pouring a big glass of juice, I wouldn't recommend that because your blood sugars are going to skyrocket, and it is acidic on your gut, and you're not getting any fiber. You're going to crash later and want to eat more. So, and a serving of juice is 4 ounces.
Yeah, I was just thinking like a juice glass is, super tiny.
3
Like
servings.
that's probably even too big for, that's like a
Oh
water
yeah,
glass.
that's
probably even
too big.
So-
Half of this is maybe a serving. This is 3 servings of juice in this teeny tiny thing. You would down this. I was talking to a patient the other day and he was like, all right, this is my go-to water bottle. And he brings this out. I'm like, oh my gosh, please tell me you aren't drinking those all the time. No wonder your belly hurts. But so, all right, I'm gonna sprinkle the peanuts, which is a legume. It's got protein in it over the top. I like it because it gives you some crunch. And you see, I'm using this tool. This is a pastry bench scraper. And I like that to scrape up my ingredients because if I brought my knives to get sharpened one time at the farmer's market, and the guy, his name is Grumpy. I'm not kidding. He was grumpy that day. He was like, you're scraping your knife on your cutting board and you're ruining the blade. He's like, do it on the back or get something else. So this is one of my favorite kitchen tools. All right. So do you guys want me to dress the salad or have it on the side? Dress it? I think that's a good idea. And so I'm just going to add a little bit because we may not need all of this. And I just like it to lightly touch all the pieces. And this is a huge salad. I love how pretty this is, and it has such a good presentation because of all the different colors. And
I think it speaks to the idea of you eat with your eyes too, right? Like, I
Absolutely.
can't tell you how many times I walk into like the cafeteria and I'm like, oh, it's another brown food kind of day. You know,
Yeah.
you just get depressed and you just, and then you feel that
Yes.
weight of that brown food in your belly.
Yes.
Versus, having something really bright and light and colorful, and it just, you want to eat more of it.
Right. Okay. And okay, so one day over the Labor Day weekend, I was over in Homosassa scalloping, and we went to this Italian restaurant. I'm like, oh, what can I get that's, reasonably healthy? I'll get the broccoli steamed on the side instead of the pasta. It was like broccoli in olive oil. It was olive oil broccoli soup. I was so mad. It ruined the experience for me because you eat with your eyes. I even took a picture of it. I was so mad. Yes. All right, now you can serve it. Thank you. Yes, there you go. Oh, I forgot to add jalapenos to it. I'm gonna do that at the end because I took the seeds out, and at the end, I'm gonna show you how I cut all this stuff. I didn't want to waste the time during the presentation to show you because I want you to get eaten. So there we go. There's that. Why isn't this working? All right, this is still heating up. Yeah. I would put on the plate, yeah, because the soup will go in the bowl. Yeah, I guess we can talk a little bit while this is finishing up, and then I'll make the banana or the ice cream. I want to do the ice cream closer to
7 minutes, it
now
looks like.
7 minutes.
So,
perfect.
it's funny talking about like the oxidizing of the vegetables and stuff. My wife did a couple cooking classes at Publix actually, and
Uh-huh.
they were talking about that and getting a ceramic knife to cut like the fruits and vegetables that oxidize and turn brown really quickly, because it's the oxidation is a lot of times it's the reaction with the metal of your knife.
Yeah,
So those ceramic knives that you see that are sharp as anything, like you could definitely slice your finger off if you're not careful, but they work really well. You can cut an apple and leave it sit for a couple hours and it won't get nearly as brown as if you cut an apple with a metal knife. and
I
20
think I
minutes
need to go
later-
shopping.
Oh, it's totally worth it.
That sounds awesome. Yes. Why don't you address?
So for lactose, it's usually an inability to process the sugar to break it down, to break down the sugar molecule. And so some people just don't possess that enzyme or don't have sufficient enzyme to do it. So some of those people, they'll take like a lactate, which will resupply that enzyme versus just totally cutting it out. There are lots of alternative dairy products out there right now. I don't really know. There's almond milk. Yeah, which really is just almond juice.
Yeah.
Like that's all it is. You don't get any of your calcium, vitamin D and stuff like that you would get from
There's
dairy.
not as much protein in it
Yeah.
either, but you could get lactate milk.
Yeah,
They,
they make ice cream, lactate ice cream.
Mhm.
And then for the gluten, so there's some people just can't tolerate the wheat protein as well, and some people have a straight up allergy to it. Yeah.
I was a bad girl.
So that, and then some people just develop an insensitivity to it. And some people are truly straight up allergic to it.
Mhm.
And so there's testing that you can do for that. Yeah, just watch it. But, to the point of like the genetically engineered or, food and stuff, the wheat that, the amber waves of grain that, that we sing about are not the wheat that we eat in our breads today, right? Like the amber
you.
waves of grain don't exist anymore because
Right.
all the wheat is genetically engineered so that it can grow quick, grow multiple harvests in a season, and get processed very fast. And so there's definitely something different about the foods that we eat over time And our bodies are not prepared or designed to necessarily break down those foods as well as they were back then.
Correct. Yeah. And like I always tell people, the crops that we're eating now are not your grandma's crops. They're totally different. So the farms are over cropped, the genetically modified things, and it's all driven by money a lot of times, you know. I just tried for the first time that Ezekiel bread. It's the sprouted grain bread that you find in the freezer section. It was pretty good. So you might want to try that and see if you how you feel. And well, they have real, but they've gotten so much better with gluten-free options of like gluten-free flour that you can swap out one for one. But you do have to be careful when you're buying the gluten-free products in the grocery store. If they're taking out the gluten, they're often replacing it with like fat, sugar, something else. So making stuff yourself.
Could I go to my recipes and say, okay, I want to swap out the flour and
And a lot of the
Yes.
higher quality gluten-free flours will tell you on the packet, like it's a 1-to-1 swap or a 1-to-2 swap or something like that. They should,
Yeah.
because they know, sorry, they know that you're not, the gluten-free flour people know that like there aren't as many gluten-free recipes out there. And so they're trying to mass market it to the people who might just want to make a change in their
Yeah.
diet. And so therefore they are accommodating you by telling you what the alternative or what the substitution would be.
And then there is one brand that has 1-for-1 on the packaging. So that's a no-brainer. Just easily swap out for the all-purpose flour. All right, soon this is going to be done. And when it is finished beeping, I'm going to take it out and shred the chicken and then add the miso paste. I'm going to mix the miso paste. I'm going to add directly into there, and we're going to cook it for about 5 minutes more. And yes, all right, let me get a plate.
While Allison's doing that, someone in the comments recommended she uses manioc starch for gluten-free cooked bread. Said that's a really good alternative.
Oh, good.
MANIOC. I think I'm spelling it right. So that might be something worth checking out as an alternative. Starch, manioc starch. Yes, she says she uses it for gluten-free bread. So just to contribute to the conversation. And Dr. Galante, one question was, and I've never heard of this before, someone asked about prebiotics instead of probiotics. Is that, so, yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that? If not, that's okay.
I really don't. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's all right. I've never
Um,
heard of that myself.
You know, it's one of those things that everyone, you know, it's like one of those buzzwords in GI and like, oh, prebiotic, probiotic. I honestly. don't.
Garlic is a prebiotic,
There you
so
go.
we
I
got
think
some
the
prebiotics
people
in
who work
here.
Nutrition would understand that a little
Yes.
bit better than me.
It feeds the good bacteria. So thank you. So it's a natural prebiotic, and it increases the good bacteria in our gut. So that can help with irregularity and things like that. And I had some other, thank you. I like how it's a crunchy. It's the jalapenos. I love it. Yum. All right. So people are often afraid of that. You just quick release to get the steam out. You could also, if you're terrified of it, naturally release it, and just like it'll, after about 10 minutes, it'll not be steaming anymore. But you don't want to put your hand over it because you can burn yourself. So you got to be careful of that. Let me get, what I'm going to do is take out the chicken and shred it. And do you guys have any of those hand mixers at home to bake cakes that you plug into the wall? I was going to bring it, but then I thought that's so many gadgets, I'll just tell you about it. But you could take your chicken and put it in another bowl and use your hand mixer and shred it. Yeah, you have to be careful not to shred it too much because then it gets gummy, but it's a quick, easy way to save time to shred your chicken as well. So once the steam is completely released, I'll be able to open it. And I'm going to chop up the chicken, add the rest of our ingredients. We have some, this is tamari, tamari soy sauce. It's gluten-free. And I brought a whole fresh new bottle and I broke it when I got here. So if it smells like soy, so Nourish Kitchen to the rescue, they brought it in. And if you notice, I have everything already prepared before I start cooking. That's called mise en place. It's a French term, everything in its place. And that way, you know, you have all the ingredients. How many times did you start cooking and you're like, "Argh, I forgot I didn't have tamari or soy sauce or whatever." So that is important. All right. So I am going to scoop out these chicken thighs. I'm using the thighs because it's got more flavor than the plain breast. I did trim it with the kitchen shears of the extra fat because it does tend to, those butchers tend to leave on a little extra fat. And I'm going to just rough chop this into bite-sized pieces. Should have counted how many I put in there. But I think I got them all. Thank you very much.
You know, I was just looking at this, you could, if you left out some of the chicken stock, you know, you just pretty much have, you only need a little bit of liquid in these pressure cookers to cook everything.
Right.
You'd have like a good, just like stew.
Yeah.
Just something thicker if you didn't want like a soup,
Yes.
so to speak. Or putting in something like a sweet potato or something to break down and kind of thicken it for you.
That's a really good idea. All right, so I'm adding the miso to it. This is gut supportive, and that's going to give it a little bit extra salty flavor too. I went to Whole Foods, I'm sorry, Fresh Market, and it was in the refrigerated section in the produce section near all like the artificial plant-based meats. Yeah, by the tofu. Yeah. And this brand I like, the Miso Master. I did get it online before because I couldn't find it in the stores, but then it was sold out forever. So I was stressing.
I'm going to interrupt real quick. So we
Okay.
actually did a whole cooking class here in the Nutrition Theater with Miso, with Katie Farman from
Ooh.
Edible Orlando. And after that class, I went to, there's a wonderful Asian market at the corner of Colonial and John Young Parkway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's one in Colonial and Bumby too.
Okay, yeah, there's
Yeah.
plenty, especially we were very blessed with a really rich Asian market community here. And when you go there, I got the red miso paste, but
Oh,
there's like
nice.
10 different kinds of miso pastes. And thanks to Katie, I keep it in my fridge now. And any recipe that would call for salt, I put a little teaspoon of that in instead, and it just adds
Well,
like a depth and a
Well,
richness.
it's that umami. So it's like what, like we used to say like, oh, MSG when you would get Chinese takeout, right?
Uh-huh.
But it's natural and it's that, you know, the tastes of, you know, salty, sweet, sour, bitter, like umami is the fifth, right? It's that like meaty flavor.
Yeah.
You know, it's what soy sauce gives. It's what, you know, what mushrooms give and things like that. Those like savory, that savory flavor.
And once you have it in the fridge, you'll find yourself Googling, like Katie had made a great, just a simple spaghetti dish that was miso and butter
Ooh.
with it and mushrooms. But, you know, I've added it to salad dressings and soups and, you know, so I even added it to tuna one day just as an experiment. It was really good. So like tuna
Yum.
salad. So
Yeah, because it's not like it's not one of those things that you would just be like, let me pick up a spoon of this and eat it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, let me add this to enhance the flavor. So just how salt is a flavor enhancer, this is a flavor enhancer.
And it also helps, it has health benefits too. So you're finding things to crowd out the not so great stuff, like the MSG stuff, and you're finding some that support your health as well. All right, so I'm just chopping this up. I moved the setting to saute. So that's gonna help melt down the miso and blend it better. All right.
So the question was, do I have any like go-to tips for just overall GI health? Drink plenty of water, high fiber diet, and then eat a very well balanced variety of foods, right? So don't just have like, you know, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day. You know, variety of this is the spice of life. So making sure you're getting plenty of fruits and vegetables. If you eat meat, have a variety of meats. You know, don't just eat red meat. You know, chicken, fish, etc. And just, you know, everything in moderation, right? You know, just our portions are way too out of control.
Yes, they definitely are.
But yeah, and then, you know, making sure that you stay active and get moving and things like that. And don't get constipated by any means necessary.
Yeah. And I mentioned that trying to get 30 different plants a week. And plants aren't just fruits and vegetables. Plants are your nuts, your seeds, and the tofu, edamame. Those are all plants. And can anyone guess how many plants are in the recipes that I'm going to be making today? All 3 of them today? Don't cheat. You're good. Not quite that good. 21. 21. So that just in today's lunch, you're gonna have 21 different plants. So yeah. But that's just a variety. That doesn't mean the servings. And beans and lentils, those are all considered plants as well. So when I go to, I love Publix subs. So if I'm getting a pub sub, I will not just get the iceberg lettuce on it. I'll do the spinach because it's got more color and more nutrients in it. I'll add some tomatoes, some onions, some jalapenos, and just try and think of other things I can add to it just to bulk up the veggies of that meal.
Yeah, I'd say that like they're processed, right? Like unless you're going and you're getting like a chicken breast and slicing the chicken breast yourself, or a turkey breast or something like that. There are a ton of salt, there are a ton of nitrates, there are a ton of just like other things, right? Because think about it, they can sit in the refrigerator for, you know, a week and not go gross. So I mean, everything in moderation. Like I'm a fan, like I'm from Philadelphia. Like I'm gonna every Thursday it's a Wawa hoagie. Like on my way to clinic. Like that's my one like guilty pleasure I have. Like I stop, I get a hoagie. Yeah. But I put the spinach on it. I put the cherry peppers, the tomatoes, and stuff like that. So it's, you know, I'm balancing out the good with the bad.
Yeah, totally.
And it's in moderation. Like I'm not getting the foot long, I'm getting the 6-inch, and I'm, you know, eating only half of it, you know, so it's knowing, you know. And I think like when you get on those really restrictive diets where you're like, I cannot eat this one thing that I really desperately want, then you fall off the bandwagon and
feel guilty.
And you just go and you eat the whole thing, and then you hate yourself 20 minutes later.
Right. I like to find ways to fit in some of your favorites, but also, you know, make some small changes. I know that when I go home to Boca, my hometown, there's one restaurant I love. They're fried. They're called whale fries. It's whale's ribs, one of my favorite restaurants. And it's like French fries, basically. I know I'm going to eat them, and it's okay. I'm not going to make myself feel terrible about it. I'm going to enjoy it for that one meal, but guess what? I'm going to have a bunch of salad, you know, that weekend too. So you don't have to it's not an all or nothing thing. I've never had a Wawa sub before.
You are missing out.
I'm afraid now.
It's not a
A
sub.
hoagie. Okay.
Yes, it's a hoagie.
I'm afraid because then I might be addicted. Have you ever been to Stachios?
No, but everybody rants and raves about it, and I really need to go.
Oh my gosh, you do. It's Bumby in Bumby and Robinson, and they have. My son loves the Cuban Italian. So good. All right. So now I'm going to add in at the end the bok choy and the Napa cabbage and cook that till it's softened. You don't want to add it at the beginning because then it's going to get too cooked, too wilted.
Now this looks like it has the consistency of kale. Could you use kale instead?
You could, definitely. That's a good point because this was hard to find as well. I went to a lot of stores for you guys. I went to Sprouts, Publix, Fresh Market, and Walmart. You're welcome. But good thing is I actually love going grocery shopping. It's one of my favorite things to do. Yeah. And Publix is literally 0.8 miles from my house. So sometimes to get steps in, I'll walk to Publix. But then it's good for me because then I'm limited on how much I can buy because I got to carry it back.
So one thing also is that, you know, in this age of like those ready to eat meal kits, which create a lot of waste, both food waste and consumer waste, just, you know, all the packaging and everything. All these grocery stores have these kind of like pre-made meal kits, which are significantly less packaging. And, you know, you're watching the guy in the back cut it up. So you're not dealing with the carbon footprint of the transport and all that other stuff. And you're, you know, having it's locally made, both the meal kit is locally made and you are making it
Yourself.
locally on your stove.
Yeah.
And there are things like this, like you get a to-go box filled with like some pre-cut vegetables and then you get like a thing of chicken or a piece of fish and there's instructions on how to do it. So you don't have to, get this super complicated recipe. And most like I've seen them at Publix, I've seen them at Fresh Market. I've seen them at Sprouts. What's that?
Then you're not in 4 stores.
Yeah.
No, you're not in 4 stores, but
Yeah.
at least, like, what you're eating too. Because that's the other important thing is like, when you make the food yourself, whether you're making it as a good thing to eat or a bad thing to eat, you know what you're putting in your body.
Right.
Whether, and then you're an adult, you make that choice, what you're putting in.
Right.
Versus you go to a restaurant or
yeah.
you get takeout or something like that, you have no idea what the person in the back is putting in. your
Even
food.
if they have a nutrition facts label on the menu, you just can't trust it because they are in the business of getting you to come back and eat at the restaurant again and again and again. And, when they're making your steak in the back, you better believe they are taking butter and just bathing it in
Well,
it.
that's just delicious.
It is delicious. It is. But if you think that it's the calories on the thing, you're sadly mistaken. But you can enjoy that. And my husband, like, he's gotten into the habit of now making bacon every time we make steaks. And I'm like, must be tough to be married to a dietitian. I found his hidden candy bar stash the other day. He was out of town and I was doing his laundry like a good wife does and putting it away. And I opened up the drawer and there was 12 Hershey bars. And I'm like, oh boy.
Well, we just need to talk to him about having better chocolate bars. To eat. I mean,
Yes. Ah, so funny. Okay, so I put the Napa cabbage in here just so it wilts down a little bit. So we just have a few more minutes. I'm gonna get your spoons. I need to get you a new bowl. Did we pass? Oh, bowls are here. So I'm gonna I'm gonna serve you guys.
While she's doing, oh, go ahead. No, ask your question.
Napa cabbage, I all of a sudden woke up, so there's a specific Napa.
Yes, I'll show it to you. I have half of it over here. And
The question in the room is about Napa cabbage versus
Oh.
regular cabbage. The folks at home can't hear her.
okay, so this is the Napa cabbage. This is what it looks like. And it's very crispy. And here, I'll let you taste it. Here. And do any of you guys want to taste the
it's
Napa
almost
cabbage?
like, it looks like endive,
Yeah.
like a big endive.
Yeah. And you could like scoop up, different dips with it. And this cabbage, you can actually slice and put in the, you can grill it and you could air fry it. It tastes delicious and breaks down the texture a little bit. And then we have our green cabbage here. I'm glad I brought this in to show y'all. And then, okay, I think we're ready. Let me get my ladle.
Behind you, there might be.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Galante, while she's scooping that up, so I'm in my mid-40s, so my group is all getting their first colonoscopies.
45.
I'm
Yeah.
45 on the dot, so all of my group of friends, everyone's going through that. And a person in our group just had his first and had 4 polyps and immediately started Googling, how do I avoid polyps?
By getting a colonoscopy.
Okay. Is there anything diet-wise too that you guys would recommend moving forward? Or?
So, there's always talk, like, should you take there's some talk about, like, should you take like an NSAID, like the Celebrex or something like that for polyp prevention? That's seen more in like the upper GI polyps and stuff like that. But really, no. It's just part of that pathway of like normal mucosa to cancer, right? And that's why a colonoscopy is the best thing to do to prevent colon cancer, because it's diagnostic and therapeutic. So you can get it before it becomes a cancer, versus almost every other screening test we have for a cancer. There's already something there that's abnormal. And technically, yeah, there's a polyp there that's abnormal, but you're getting it out before it goes down that cancer pathway.
Yeah.
So yeah. If you can't get a colonoscopy for whatever reason, all those other screening tests are good screening tests. You just have to do them more frequently.
So I have a question about the screening test. They have the colonoscopy option and then that stool swipey thing.
Yes,
So what's your opinion?
I do not recommend the poop in a box.
Okay, good.
I mean, if that's the only thing you have available to you, then go for it. There are very strict recommendations regarding who it's indicated for and who it's contraindicated in.
Okay,
And I think that we have kind of gone down the line of allowing
whoa. Thanks.
the marketing of it to kind of push where it should go. I mean, it's great to talk about colon cancer and prevention and screening and things like that. But, if you've ever had a polyp, well, you can't do it now. If you have a family history of colon cancer, you can't do it, right? It's only been studied really in those patients who are very vanilla, for lack of a better term, and it really hasn't been studied in the 45 to 50 range. We've just kind of taken the data and pushed it out and said, well, if it worked in the 50-year-old group, it must work in the 45-year-old group. But it has been shown that colonoscopy starting at age 45, you end up getting like 2 additional colonoscopies in your life. And there's thousands of years of life saved when you do the data. And I mean, you're talking like, statistics and the magnitude of millions of individuals, but it does save significantly more lives by getting those 2 extra colonoscopies in your life.
And I would imagine you don't see the polyps, obviously, because you're just pooping in a box.
So what it does is it looks for the altered DNA. So there is a false positive rate and a false negative rate. If you have a positive, you're going to go get a colonoscopy regardless.
Right.
So my stance is, if I'm going to do something, I'd rather do the one thing and know I'm one and done,
Yeah.
and then come back and see you in 5 to 10 years, versus have to do it every 3 years and potentially have a
Right.
false negative, or,
Yeah.
and then once you have a positive, you don't meet criteria to use it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a friend who's 49 that just had a colonoscopy done, stage 4 cancer. I'm like, okay, you scared me. I made my appointment. I'm going to clean up my workspace a little bit while you guys are enjoying your food. And then I'm going to make you the strawberry nice cream for dessert, and ask questions while you're eating, if you have any. Would. I like to, with the soups, you can freeze it. What I do is take Ziploc bags, and once it's cooled down, I'll put it in the Ziploc bag and freeze it flat, put it in the freezer. You could also take a muffin tin, pour it into the muffin tin, freeze it, then pop it out. And I do the big muffin tins, so that's like about a serving size. So when I'm busy, it's easy. And so I always recommend batch cooking too. So, because this did require a lot of chopping and cutting up. The cabbage salad will last longer because it's a heartier veggie versus spinach. So that could last you a couple days in the fridge. And then the soups you can have, a couple days during this week, and then freeze the rest and pull it out when you're busy and don't feel like cooking. And this is a great way to get a lot of extra vegetables. Soups are awesome for that.
Can I ask you a question that's come in from the chat box? Sure. So this woman is sharing that her mother had passed away at 48 of colon cancer. So she and her sisters had started with regular ones, and she's saying starting at age 30, and they all had polyps, continue to go yearly unless no polyps are found. She's now gone 10 years with no polyps. Can she consider herself no longer having a higher familiar risk?
No, you're still at risk. So the recommendation is, if you have a family history of colon cancer, it's every 5 years once you've gone out of, if you've had clean scopes.
Thank
But
you.
I would, if her mother was that young, she should definitely talk to her surgeon or her gastroenterologist, primary care doctor regarding, there's certain testing that they can do to see if there's certain genetic component, because that is something to consider.
Is that an area, I know with breast cancer, you hear with the BRCA analysis, is that something with colon cancer?
Yeah,
as
so
well?
there's definite genes. There's a couple different genetic syndromes, cancer syndromes that deal with colon cancer, particularly in younger patients. And there's a whole panel of genes that they can test for. That's well out of the scope of like something I do. I would refer those patients on to genetic counseling to go into that whole process, because if those tests are positive, there's a whole bunch of medical decision-making that has to go into that in terms of prophylactic surgeries and other organ systems you have to screen and things like that.
There has been a lot of news lately about how much it's increasing, especially amongst younger people. I mean, is there any thinking on that, or is it because we're testing more that we're catching it
I think we
more?
are testing more, so we're seeing more. I think we're realizing that, it's not normal to bleed when you poop. And so people are getting screened earlier.
And also the black poop is a sign of blood.
Yeah.
So if you have that.
And, there's got to be an environmental exposure effect as well. But by environmental exposure, I don't just mean like being outside, but like the things we eat, the things that our colon sees. There's got to be there has to be
Yeah.
an association with that as well. But there's not one thing where somebody said like this one thing that you have done has caused your colon cancer.
The takeaway, get tested.
Exactly.
The question is, if you've had polyps removed, does that change the frequency of your colonoscopies?
Yes, there are guidelines regarding that. So if you have, and it all depends on where the polyp is, what kind of pathology the polyp has, and the size and number, and how it was taken out. So on average, if you have less than 3 polyps taken out and they are benign adenomas, it would be a repeat in 5 years. Now, if you have more than 3, if there's some that are larger, like greater than a centimeter, it might be 3 years. If they get taken out piecemeal, meaning like not in one chunk, but they have to take out multiple bites, they might say, come back in a year to make sure that we got it all and it didn't regrow. But those are the basic guidelines, but it's all based on the path, whatever the pathology report shows.
I have probably the most important question I've gotten. Your wife wants to know if you're bringing her lunch.
Yes.
I just
I
packed
didn't
a
even have
to-go
to
box
answer
for
that
him.
question.
Mrs. Galante, I will add some extra salad to that. So.
That's awesome. I love that. Nice to meet you. Okay, I'm ready to make the dessert. We have it in the freezer.
Let me go
the
get it. I'll be
berries
right
in
back.
the freezer in the back. And today we're going to be making a strawberry banana ice cream. Let me get my gloves. And what I am doing, this is lactose free, so that's good for you. And we are using some light coconut milk in there for some creaminess. And also, these are super duper tight. Some water so we're not using all coconut cream. Coconut cream is pretty high in saturated fat, high in MCT oil, which is readily absorbed where you don't need your digestive enzymes to break it down. But I don't want to have all the excess saturated fat, so I'm watering it down a little bit. But I wanted that creamy flavor. I need to get a measuring cup. Water. Yes.
I make a smoothie with the coconut milk and it calls for beverage.
Okay.
So is that different?
It's different than that.
Okay.
The beverage is found where the almond milk is, or they have it shelf stable and like coconut water. It's like a coconut water. But I used a coconut almond milk and it's delicious. It's in the section where all the, yeah.
They make something called knot milk as well,
Yeah.
which is like a combination of all those different
Yeah.
milk substitutes.
Yeah. What do you think in there is going to affect your diabetes? Why? Well, carrots and one serving of carrots is only 5 grams of carbohydrate, and you need plants in your diet. Your vegetables, a serving of vegetables is 5 grams of carb. One serving of a carb in a diabetic exchange is 15 grams. So carrots are definitely allowed. And I would recommend, we have a diabetes educators here on property, and I would recommend going and getting like a revisiting and, just learning more about the exchange list and things like that, because we want you to increase vegetables in your diet. Yeah, good, good. Yeah, so you can have it, totally, absolutely. And with the dessert, I'm not adding any sugar to it. It's only coming from the actual fruit. So that's gonna be good for you as well. Okay, so here we have our, I just wanna make sure it works, high-speed blender. And we have, where'd you put there? Oh, here. This is, whenever you go to the store and you buy too many bananas, you just chop them up and freeze them, okay? So I put them in my Ziploc baggie, and same thing for fruit. I am a sucker when I go to a farmer's market and I buy way too much. And if you bring me to Sam's Club, forget it. I can't even fit anything else in my fridge. I've got so much produce. So before it goes bad, I throw it in and freeze it, okay? So I'm going to be putting,
If you can find a neighbor with like a banana tree in their yard, I
yeah,
highly recommend that. Those are the best tasting bananas you'll ever get. And so many people around here just like let them fall off and like sit on
Yeah.
the ground and go out. Like, we have a neighbor in our neighborhood who they don't even eat bananas, but they have this beautiful
Oh.
banana tree, and we'll walk in the alley and just walk away.
with your ski masks on.
Oh no, we've knocked on the door and said, like, we're taking your bananas. We're like, it's fine, we don't eat them. But they are the sweetest bananas, and they're the most like it almost tastes like a fake banana flavor. That's how banana-y it is.
That's good. And that reminds me, growing your own is always going to be better. And I have a hydroponic tower garden in my yard for my herbs and things like that, but I kill everything in the ground. So that's the best that I could do. But having your own tomato plant, oh my gosh, if you've had fresh tomatoes, they do so delicious. They actually have flavor to them. So,
And I'm going to mention two things real quick. Speaking of towers, take a walk in the back of this building around. Our new hydroponic towers have been installed this week. They're in our former kids area. So they're finishing, the beginning of the lettuces are just started. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll be serving them fresh at Nourish Cafe for all of our salads. And I'll be working with the company that installed them. We're going to be doing some educational classes here at the program, at the center. So stay tuned.
That
And
is
speaking of
awesome.
food waste, one thing we also do in here is we compost here. We work with O-Town Composting here at the Center for Health and Wellbeing.
Mhm.
And that's a great option too, if you're looking to do more with that and not send it all to the landfill. And this center, since we started doing it, we've composted almost 2,000 pounds over the last 7 or 8 months. And what's great about it is that then they will bring you back a bag of really good, fresh
This
dirt
is
to
not
use in your own
working.
home garden. So just a little
See,
plug
you
for
know.
helping always.
And speaking of composting, since I prepped all the stuff here at home, I saved all my scrap. Oh, you're the bomb. Thank you. I saved all my scraps and put it in a Ziploc bag because you can actually make vegetable stock with that. And I know that sounds really high maintenance and a lot of work, but it's really not. All you do is to put the scraps in a pot of water, boil it, and let it reduce. And then you strain out all the scraps, and then you got a beautiful vegetable stock. And if you've checked the prices in the grocery stores lately, everything's going up. So that would be a good way to reduce your food costs and know what you're getting. So it would chop everything up and blend it. So it cooks it in that. But if you put it, this is the Vitamix, so it's a blender. So it would just make it like a puree. And if you needed a pureed diet, yes, you could. But that actually helps to cook it. So it needs to go in there. Yeah.
You probably
if you
could,
don't
you could
have
probably
an-
convert to a crock pot too, or a
Yeah,
big
you could
soup
do it in
pot.
a crock pot as well. We've become in the TikTok world where everything's fast. People don't want to wait around. So people don't like the slow cookers anymore. I actually got rid of mine when I got the Instapot because I didn't have enough real estate in my kitchen to store it. But you could do it in an Instapot or old fashioned on top of a stove. So it's going to be noisy. Okay, so I blended this up really good, and you can see the separation of colors, so the strawberry and the banana. So I want to really, really get it. Okay, so this is my strawberry banana and ice cream. Can you think of other vegetables or vegetables, vegetables, come on. Other fruits that would be good in this? Kiwi, yes, that would be awesome. Anyone else? Pineapple. I've done blackberries, raspberries, mango. That's good. The banana really helps to make it like a ice cream feel to it, but you don't necessarily have to use banana. You could use other different berries. I've also made it with soy yogurt and raspberries, no, blackberries and strawberries. It was amazing. It actually reminded me of college. When I went to University of Florida, there was a place called Fruit and Yogurt, and it was like ice creams, and it brought back that flavor to me. And that restaurant's no longer there, so I'm like, I'm excited about this. I pre-made these for you because for the sake of time, I didn't want to have to be like, you gotta wait. I'm gonna put this in the fridge for a little bit to get hard. So here is some pre-made, and if you're full, you can take it home. Ice cream for you, but I would love someone to taste test it and let me know what you think. Do you guys like to cook? Oh, it's probably a little bit hard, huh? Sorry. Do you guys like to cook at home? How often do you go? No? Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah. Do you like following recipes? Like starting, yeah, starting with that.
Sorry.
What? Yes, yes. You would, I would have to, let me think about it.
Okay.
And you
But to
answer
your
that
point of like,
question.
you don't like, you need to follow a recipe. I think that like brand aside, like this is like a great thing because you say like, okay, I want to do some chicken. Okay, well, what do I have in my cabinet? I've got, a can of tomatoes, a can of beans, and like a jar of pesto in the fridge. Okay, you just made yourself Italian chicken. Like, no, but
I think
you,
bring
but
two.
you could.
Saute it, add the water or the broth. And saute.
I think you just play around, right? Just play around. Well, there you go.
That's awesome. Add
Oops.
broth.
And keep coming back to the Center for Health and Wellbeing.
I think it's funny because people get so intimidated by cooking.
Yeah.
I joke with my patients in the hospital. 20 years ago, it was like you walk into a patient's room and it's Maury Povich on. Now it's you walk into a patient's room and it's food TV on. And they're making these like elaborate cakes and these fancy, dinners. And it's like, like nobody wants to just watch somebody make like meat and potatoes or a salad, right? But it's like those are the things that like that is attainable cooking. That is attainable
guessing,
food.
but
And that's what somebody's
try
going to go
it.
home and try to make and like actually
Yeah.
understand what they're putting in their body versus
Yeah.
I need to go to the specialty grocery store and get 8,000 weird things that that are just going to line the condiment shelf in my fridge. But knowing, starting simple, starting small, just throwing a couple ingredients in a pot and seeing what comes out of it is a good way to start.
Mhm.
You can do it.
And the worst case scenario, you throw it out. Big deal. Yeah. But yeah, and I'm glad that you came to this just to kind of broaden your knowledge, and I hope you gain some kitchen confidence. It's not that hard.
As I mentioned, we've got 4 classes coming up in the next few weeks for cooking. We've got on October 4th, actually, we're gonna do something a little different. Allison's gonna be here. We're partnering with the Four Roots Foundation, which is part of Four Rivers. And the Four Roots Foundation is really dedicated to local sustainable eating. And Allison and Dr. Monica Agarwal will be doing a plant-based class on, it's for inflammation,
I
correct?
think it's the heart health.
Heart health, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's right. Next, yeah.
It all
So we're gonna
goes
be making
together.
sofritos, burrito bowls. So do you want to talk a
Yes.
little bit about what sofritos are?
Yes, have you ever been to Chipotle? I love their sofritos, and it's made of tofu, but it's funny, I go there and I get the salad bowl and I get half steak, half sofritos. So, because I do like some meat flavor as well, but the sofritos, I was very intrigued and I looked up recipes for copycat recipes and I found one that I modified a little bit, and it's made out of tofu. So it's a good way to get some plant-based protein in your diet. And studies show that if you substitute half of your diet with plant-based protein and the other half, like instead of all animal protein, it reduces hypertension. So I'm making that, and we're gonna have the guests help make a cilantro lime crema vegan dressing and chop up their, veggies to go on it. We're gonna,
Allison's going to teach some knife
Knife
skills to folks that
skills,
attend.
yes.
So that'll be a more hands-on one. So that's October 4th.
yeah,
And then Allison will be back October 12th for Eating to Prevent Cancer. So
Yes.
sign up for that as well. And then we have a pantry meals coming up with Chef Colette Hall. So as
mhm,
we said, we've all been through hurricane season when public suddenly shuts down or quarantine, you're suddenly stuck at home and you weren't planning on it. So what do you cook, finding what you have at home. So,
Right.
and again, I encourage everybody to take our survey because that one was actually inspired by a comment somebody sent in. So, when you get those surveys at the end, let us know what you want to do. And maybe we'll talk Dr. Glante coming back again early next year.
Absolutely.
So, any other topics, we keep doing the series. So
yeah.
any other final questions? And I'll check the chat box real quick, but anybody else in the room?
Yay, good. Once it gets a little bit softer, you'll. Good.
All right, but the reports from the room for those at home are good. So go ahead and make it when you guys get home. And I liked you putting up the alternatives. I have a banana allergy, so every smoothie seems to involve bananas.
Yeah.
So I will try it with the coconut.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, right.
oh, that's a good avocado you
Yes,
suggested. Yeah,
yes.
it's a good one. So,
Mhm.
well,
So
thank. Okay.
so freeze those avocados when they start going bad, because then you could put them in your smoothies if you have a banana allergy, or if I've actually taken it out and made avocado toast. It wasn't as good as if it was fresh, but in a pinch, if you're really craving for some avocado toast, that'll work.
Well, thank you, everybody, for Dr. Galante. Thank you for your
Oh, my pleasure.
time and
Thank
your
you for having
expertise.
me.
We loved having you. And Allison, thank you as always. And I'm going to leave the chat room and this open for a few more minutes if people have any more questions. And I'll put the survey in there. And you guys have your recipes. And we hope to see you back here soon at the Center for Health and Wellbeing. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. I'm glad. So who else doesn't like to cook, and who does like to cook?